So the session is called The Basics of Technical Building Blocks for Data Spaces. The basics, yeah, we will be just touching on the basics. There's a lot of building blocks. We won't be able to go into a lot of detail for each of them. But I think maybe there is not always that much detail to discuss. And also, like I said earlier, this is a learning experience for us as well. We could use this afternoon to get to that level of detail for the building blocks that you're specifically interested in. I'll start off with a bit of context, and then there's three pillars, so to speak. So there is the data value creation pillar, the interoperability pillar, and the data sovereignty and trust pillar. I'll start with data value creation because this is what appears to be more interesting for you in terms of federating within a pilot or across the pilots. Interoperability are quite well-known common mechanisms, I think, in this crowd at least. And then data sovereignty and trust, I expect to be the hardest one, maybe just because I don't know a lot about it myself. So it will be an experience for all of us. A data space, I guess many of you have already been in the other trainings. We don't need to iterate, of course, all the definitions of a data space. I just want to position ourselves a little bit as the European data space for smart and sustainable cities and communities. Just the adagio for setting up a data space is that it will create a decentralized and trusted environment for data sharing, both on the pilot level and on the European level. Generally aims to democratize the access and balancing, this is sometimes forgotten, balancing the return of investment over the participants. So in time, the more participants in your data space, the cost effectiveness of doing business with data should decrease. Flexibility is built into the data space, and it is built on technical, legal, and economical agreements. Today we'll be zooming into these technical agreements, standards, specifications, and support. Just a little bit of the scene. This is a slide that we use a lot at OWASC. Just to say that our data spaces on different levels. So there's a data space on the local level. If you have different actors active in a local level that are exchanging data in such a flexible and democratic way, we call it a local data space. But of course, there also exist national data spaces, and we are also aiming to build, of course, the European data space for smart and sustainable cities and communities. What you're doing right now within the pilot is building this local data space. Also interesting on the top side, you can see the European vision for these data spaces to serve as like an underpinning infrastructure to build digital twins and to incorporate all other developments such as the testing and experimentation facilities and so forth. Like I said, the final goal of the DS4 SSCC project, of course, is to create this European data space for smart and sustainable cities and communities. Now, what sets us apart as a European data space for smart communities? We often use this picture. There are the vertical or sector-specific data spaces, such as health, manufacturing, Green Deal, and so forth. But we are confronted with most of these topics within a local level. So what differentiates us with the other data spaces is not a topic, but the fact that we are trying to do this on a local or regional scale. This as opposed to Destination Earth, which is supposed to be building the digital twin for the planet. So obviously they also need to interact with all the vertical or sector-specific data spaces, but they are doing it on a global level. And of course, all of this, it should probably be somewhere else on the graph, but all of this is supported by the work of the Data Space Support Center, or the DSSC. Most of the content I'll be going through today is supplied by DSSC. As you well know, Clara, who's also here, is also working at the DSSC. So she might at any point interrupt me and correct me, Clara, if you want to. But maybe if you have very specific questions, you can also ask them to who will also give a session this afternoon. Um, Very quickly, building blocks. So what are the building blocks? We always talk about building blocks. They are defined by the Data Space Support Center. Many of you probably know that before we started European Data Space for Citizen Communities, we had a preparatory action. It was a 1 year project with many of the same consortium that are now running the deployment action. And we, among other things, have taken a good look at these building blocks and tried to find out how they could serve for local communities. So they have been customized and tailored, and they are made available through the portal that you can see on our website, ds4sscc.eu. Tailored means that we found out, mostly through interviews and case studies, for each of these building blocks, what are the standard specifications and implementation that are actually being used within cities and communities. So DSSC within their blueprint, they mention lots of building blocks and lots of implementations for these building blocks, but not always the ones that are used within cities. So we tried to find out a little bit more about that. This is still not complete. And also, since there are a lot of computer scientists in this room, do not consider building block to be a finished implementation. This is more of a category of things you need to think about. They mention within the documentation a lot of specifications and implementations, but it's not the plug and play kind of SDK or library that you can use out of the box. There are building blocks both for the technical and the non-technical parts of your data space. But today I will only be going into the technical part. Okay, so let's kick off. What are these building blocks? Like I said, there are 3 pillars, one on data interoperability, one on data sovereignty and trust, and one on data value creation. Each of these pillars has 3 building blocks in them. And we'll go through them one by one. After each pillar, I'll leave a few minutes for discussion, questions. Like I said, I'm not sure if I will be able to answer all of them, but let's see what we can do. I'm going to start off with data value creation, which I think might be the most interesting for all of us. And these are just a few links for you to find out more about any building block on the website of DS4SSCC. But like I said, you can also refer to the DSSC website. Okay, so let's start with the data value creation pillar. The goal is to generate value. Obviously, this is the reason that we're setting up these data spaces. We have to be able, of course, to do this to find the data, the services, and the offerings that are available through the data space. So this pillar is really about how to make them accessible, findable, discovery, and also how to increase value. So how to add value-added services on top of it. This is a short description of each of these building blocks. So we have data services and offering descriptions. There's details on how to describe your data and services. Then we have publication and discovery. Obviously, how do you, on the one hand, publish data and services, and how do you discover them on the other side? And then there is a small block about value creation services. The first one, so data services and offering descriptions, is about describing your data, your service, or your excuse me, or your offering itself. Basically, this is about adding metadata on a dataset level, a dataset or a data source. Of course, for data, this mostly refers to everything that are describing the data. I'll give you a few examples of ontologies to use later. But specifically for a data space, I think spatial, temporal, and spatial resolution are very important, but also some kind of more technical metadata, such as the data format, where to get it, of course, and what is the format. Then we also describe services within the data space. I'm not sure which exact services you're already offering or you're planning to offer. But I guess for a service, there is also a lot of metadata that you can be using. quite similar to those for data sets themselves, but they might be quite different in terms of usage and access rights. So also here, certainly include the endpoint URL. And then other descriptions, these are the more commercial descriptions that are applied to offerings. Offerings can be seen as a combination of either data sets or data services, or value-added services on top of data. Like it says here, of course, the provided creation, the pricing, license, data format, and so forth. Our very pragmatic recommendations from DSSC, DS4SSCC is to be sure to use metadata standards. Within your data space, please don't try to invent your own metadata standards. There's been work on metadata even before the digital age. Librarians have thought about nothing else than metadata for all their lives. And we've been able to come to a few ontologies that are very widely used. Dublin Core is one of those for very general metadata, so please use those. Of course, these won't suffice to describe the actual contents or the types of contents of your data. If this is application specific, there might be some very sector specific terms that you need to use. But even there, try to reuse as much as possible the standards and the ontologies that exist. I've included a link here to the linked open vocabulary cloud, but of course there are other catalogs of metadata sets. But I think this is a fun one because you can use it to click through, and you can find a lot of ontologies for any specific sector, even energy, mobility, whatever, that are already being used, and you can also see actually who is using them. For what concerns metadata, okay, I'm saying there are 6 types of metadata. There are different categories and different opinions about this, but I think the most important one are certainly descriptive. So describe what your data or your service is about. Structural, so well, how is it structured? What's the data format? What is the ontology or standard being used? Administrative, so how do you actually get access to the data if it's not just a URL? Are there any processes that you have to go through? Provenance, where did it come from? Who compiled or who compiles the data set? What is expected to be the quality and so forth? Reference obviously is about the context. So which ontologies does the data reference? And which other relevant data sources are there? And usage is everything related to licensing in terms of support and so. I think that was on a very high level the first building block. So we can go into the second one. Publication and discovery. Of course, a very interesting one because you need to have your actors in your data space to be able to discover your data and services in order for it to be successful. We might even argue that this is the most important component of the data space to be able to function. It basically says that you need a data catalog. A data catalog not necessarily for your entire pilot, but maybe even for actors within your pilot. So I think at least every city partner should somehow have access to a data catalog where services and data are detailed, and the provider will be responsible for managing the items in this catalog. That also means, of course, lifecycle management, keep it up to date, make sure there is no dead links, but also make sure that it's accurate, because the quality of your publication metadata will make the usage of this is what will make the usage of this data or service actually work. The recommendation here is to use DCAT. It's an ontology, so it's linked data ontology. but it's a very easy linked data ontology. We're now on to version 3, and it describes basically a data catalog. So it has a few very simple concepts. There is a catalog. A catalog has data sets and services, and these data sets and services have versions, and you can add some metadata to it. So certainly look into this if you haven't already. If you don't have a data catalog set up already, there are a few implementations that work out of the box. CCAN is a classic one, but also other industry players such as Esri and ArcGIS already allow the creation of a DCAT feed to describe the contents of your data catalog. If you're using another system, that's perfectly fine. But please try and consider a way of automatically then generating this DCAT. Like I said, there's only a few very simple concepts in each DCAT's specification, so it might be easy to do this through scripts. There is also a DCAT editor, but that is for a specific application profile of DCAT. I don't think the DCAT editor would be the more sustainable way to go, but at least you can have a look at it. But more importantly, of course, everyone is free to describe their data or their offerings within their data catalog the way they want to. But it might be useful to agree with the pilot partners on some high-level vocabularies and themes, also in order to make it possible to query in a federated way the different data catalogs. So there is a list of data teams, for instance, which is specified by Interoperable Europe on how to label different data sets within DCAT. So it says here, always reference the most widely used data models and avoid creating pilot-specific ontologies, similar to the first building block. Important here to note is that DCAT is just a very high-level linked ontology. It does not specify a lot of things. There is a little bit more rigid application profile, I should say, but still there. It is not fixed which teams you use, for instance, or even which list of languages or this kind of things. So it does not simply work out of the box. So you have to look at it a little bit and agree on the vocabularies or the lists that you will be using. Value creation services. So this is defined by DSSC as all the things that complement the capabilities of the data space. So there's different kind of value creation services. These are actually services that create value on top of the data sets. I think many of the data spaces will be providing this kind of services, even if you don't or know for sure. And they are broadly categorized in these 5 types. So you could have services that act directly over data sets. They add value on top of them. They enable connection to external infrastructure, or they facilitate somehow the business model that is necessary for the data space. This is quite a high-level definition. I agree. There's also within DSCC there's quite an extensive list of examples about over these services, but I'll just give one here in each of the categories. So there's, for instance, data visualization. You could have a service that allows extraction of data, querying of data. You could have a service that allows enrichment or machine learning, or in terms of connecting to an external infrastructure. You might have a service that provides provisioning of computing power, for instance, to start running an AI model on top of a data set, and so forth. So these are value creation services in short. Maybe a little exercise, I think, but I don't know, it is that a data space cannot really function without these kind of services. Even if it's just being able to provision your data in the right format, scale, or provide querying and so forth. But I don't know if you have already been able to think about this. Maybe do this now. Which kind of this value creation service will you need within the data space? How will they relate to your business model? So who will pay for them, even if it's just their hosting? Who will govern them, and what is their access? So will everybody be able to use them, or are they specific to different kinds of participants, other license classes, and so forth? I'll just take a quick pause right here and a few minutes of Q&A before we go into the next